Yo, and welcome to another episode of the Angry Blerd podcast, where I'll be discussing everything nerdy that has caught my eye this week. I'm going to turn on this ring light, make it a little bright in this bitch, because my blinds are closed. So let's get into my first bit of news. So apparently there was supposed to be, well, not supposed to be, but there was a Star Wars movie in the works starring Adam Driver, returning as none other than Ben Solo. So this has kind of got the internet in a hoopla this week. Apparently Steven Soderbergh was attached to this movie, and Lucasfilm greenlit it. They had a budget and everything ready to go, and Disney just said, you know what? Nah, we good.
What the fuck?
So yeah, Bob Iger and Alan Bergman said, no, we're gonna scrap that. So the plot for this movie was supposed to be resurrecting Ben Solo after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. And apparently it said that the finalized script, they had a finalized script in place and was entering the early phases of staffing and pre-production planning after Lucasfilm itself had given the studio approval. At the point, Disney had already purchased a beat sheet, which is a document providing a broad chronological guideline of the planned events and emotional beats of a story to guide the eventual screenplay from Steven Soderbergh and his wife Jules Asner, with Jules writing under her pen name of Rebecca Blunt. And apparently Scott Burns, who was already involved with the Rogue One script before Tony Gilroy, took over, was paid more than any screenwriter in Lucasfilm history. So I don't get why they decided to kill off this movie, because this was supposed to basically be a redemption story for Kylo Ren, after the events of The Last Jedi and the events of the entire sequel trilogy altogether. I mean, the man killed his daddy. So it's just like, I don't know, maybe they were just like, you know what, no one's really rocking with these movies, even though, The Last Skywalker made $1 billion, and I love those movies. Well, not love. I enjoy those movies, but you can tell there was some lack of cohesion between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, because Rian Johnson already went this way with like the whole situation with Rey's parents, saying that they were scavengers or whatnot. But then, J.J. Abrams went and had a conversation with George Lucas and was like, hey, how would you do this? And he was like, somehow Palpatine returned. But, we're just the people who watch the content. We don't make it. But I really feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that one. Anyway, my next story is simply this. If you have not bought Fantastic Four on digital or physical, I got the 4K Blu-ray on the shelf, and you're just waiting for it to hit Disney Plus, fuck you for not supporting this movie. I mean, it only made like $500 million worldwide. It will be on Disney Plus on November 5th. That's all. So if you need a refresher on who stars in this movie, it's Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Susan Richards or Storm. I don't know if they're married. I think they're married. I don't remember. Joseph Quinn, aka Eddie Munson, is playing Johnny Storm, Sue's younger brother, and Eben Moss Backrack is Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. Ralph Ensign is Galactus, and Julia Garner is Shalabal, aka the Silver Surfer. Oh yeah, Paul Walter Hauser is in here as well. But it will also have the IMAX enhanced mode for Disney Plus, which sucks because we didn't get that with the 4K, and I feel like they're just doing that to make that stuff like Disney Plus exclusive. I'm just like, come on, man, because I would have to check my Thunderbolts 4K to see if it has the IMAX enhanced mode. As a matter of fact, let me grab that right now. And the good thing about being me I pulled all my stuff in alphabetical order, so I already knew where it was. Didn't take that much time. It says Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean Cinematic Universe Edition, whatever the hell that means. So, doesn't say anything about IMAX on the back of this. Yeah, so I don't know. I would have to check Disney Plus to even see if there is a IMAX enhanced edition of Thunderbolts on there. Anyway, next story. So I'm reading the Energon universe at the moment from Image Comics. I don't really read that much stuff from Image Comics. They're the publishers of Spawn. They had Wildcats once upon a time before Jim Lee took all that and went to DC. I'm trying to think what else is. Oh, I'm tripping. Invincible, The Walking Dead, pretty much every comic Robert Kirkman has ever written. Oh, Haunt, which is another one. They should really adapt Haunt into like a movie or a TV show or something like that. But anyway, so the Energon universe is the shared universe between G.I. Joe, Void Rivals, and Transformers. Hasbro, who owns the rights to G.I. Joe and Transformers, want to do something with that universe and basically bring it to TV in some way, shape, or form. So, Deadline reported that Hasbro is working with Skybound Entertainment to create a TV series based off the Energon universe. So, apparently Joe Henderson is set to showrun the series, who worked on Lucifer. And this will be a adult-focused animated show. So hopefully, if this actually does come off the ground, it's good, because I actually like I said, I like the Energon universe stuff. Duke he's not a conspiracy theorist because he's right, but he saw like one of his friends get crushed by Starscream because they were Duke was being flown back to a base, and Starscream showed up on radar. They asked him to identify himself. He fought back, transformed, destroyed their jet. They both ejected. Duke kind of got like knocked away in the current, and his friend, you just see him slowly like, deploy with his parachute. Starscream just transforms and just. And Starscream is a sociopath. He is obsessed with like crushing humans. And like I remember the first arc, I don't remember what issue it was. I feel like it was the first arc. It might have been like issue 2 or 3 when the Autobots wake up on Earth and they come into contact with Spike and Sparkplug with Wiki, the characters from the Gen 1 cartoon. No Sam with Wiki in this, by the way. After Optimus is revived and he steps on a deer, and Optimus is just like, he's not crying, but he is like devastated that, he destroyed something so precious, because how Optimus Prime feels about life, either Autobot, Decepticon, or human. Life is freedom is the right of all sentient beings, and so on and so forth. But yeah, very good books if you guys want some comics to read. Check out the Energon universe. All right, what is my next story? So, as we all know, the DCU is still in its first chapter. Don't know what all is still coming out. James Gunn did say that the Arkham series is pretty much dead in the water. Well, he said, it isn't being developed right now. It just didn't work. And, we got Clayface coming out with September 11th of next year. I can't remember. I feel like it was September 11th. I don't remember. But, the Peacemaker finale got fans divided because everybody just wants everything to end in just like a big super fight. And, everything doesn't have to end like that. She-Hulk told us that. And I liked the season finale of Peacemaker. I forgot to give this season an overall rating. It's a 10. I meant to do it last week, but also forgot. So, yeah, season 2 is a 10 out of 10 for me. But anyway, James Gunn was doing an interview with Screen Crush, and he was talking about the different universes, Virgin, Salvation. And as far as like Darkseid goes, he will not be including Darkseid in anything anytime soon, just because we just saw Darkseid in the Snyder Cut, and that was what, 8 years ago now. Yeah, 8 years ago. And he was also talking about the comic book Salvation run that I told you guys was about. The desolated planet where people started sending their villains in the DC universe, and he's like, he liked the idea of supervillains building a society in another dimension, and he liked the way that it was very practical. That Rick Flag and Amanda Waller were trying to deal with the problem of metahumans who continuously escape from prison in a way that he thought a fed-up government might, go along those ways. And as in regard to Darkseid, he said, you got to remember the first and foremost thing is I'm building a world. In the world, and in that world, an aspect of that world right now is obviously Argus, who are in charge of metahuman activities, have taken upon themselves to sending metahuman prisoners to salvation. That's the plan, at least, and then we'll have to see how that affects and touches everything else. So, I mean, yeah. I just want him to make sure like everything is cohesive and like you don't have like a bunch of things like sticking here or sticking there as opposed to sticking together, because then you'd be like, is this an Elseworlds thing? Like, perfect example, I don't know what universe Clayface takes place on. I'm pretty sure it's the DCU, just because in Creature Commandos we got Clayface, and it seems like Matt Reeves is doing the Christopher Nolan shit of making everything super practical, like he made fucking Riddler goddamn Jigsaw. So like, unless like what the fans have wanted for the past 3 years, unless we get like Mr. Freeze for the Batman 2, it's probably gonna be like Hush or somebody like that, like some practical villain who doesn't have any type of like superpowers or whatnot. All right, what is my next story? Let me go to my notes. So, Stranger Things, as we all know, is wrapping up, and I'm doing my revisited for season 1. We got 4 weeks until the season starts, so I have about 4 weeks to get through the rest of season 4. We now have confirmation via Netflix that the final episode of Stranger Things will debut in theaters on Christmas Eve. So according to a press release provided by Netflix, they said that screenings will take place in over 350 theaters in the US and Canada, and will be timed to start at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is the episode's release on Netflix, and will run through January 1st, 2026. So 1 day. So it's supposed to be 2 hours or something like that. So like, this originally came out as like a scooper. I don't trust scoopers. It's Puck News. It's like, this came out like last week. That's why I didn't talk about it last week, because I don't like talking about things unless there's some type of confirmation from an accredited source. Like, I don't want, like, I get a lot of my news from like Discussing Film and like IO9. Like, I'm not gonna go to IO9 and be like, oh, so IO9 says it because Puck News said it. It's like, no, I need confirmation from like Netflix itself. Yeah, the scooper might be right, but I like to actually get on this podcast and say things that are factual as opposed to speculation and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know anybody who's honestly gonna go to the movie theater to see a Netflix original series. Like, if it was like delayed by like a month on Netflix, then yeah, I get that. Maybe even 2 weeks. Like, perfect example, Frankenstein is gonna hit theaters, I believe November 17th or something, and come out on Netflix like 2 weeks later or a week later, something like that. I can't remember the exact details of it per se, but that would be a situation where, like, if you don't want to wait, go to the movies, because Stranger Things is Stranger Things, but it's coming out the same day. So what, they gonna make like $5? I mean, what am I talking about? People are gonna go to the theater to see it. Anyway, I'm gonna go take a break. Y'all can listen to this Dubby ad. I will be right back. This episode is brought to you by Dubby. Dubby gives you focus and energy without the crash and jitters. It has no sugar, fillers, or artificial dyes. Mix 1 packet or scoop into 8 or 12 ounces of water. Stir or shake well. Some powderiness is normal, and it has all the important vitamins. So this has vitamin C, B3, B6, and B12. And it's made from coffee fruit extract. So drink it and go conquer a task, and go to debbie.gg and use my promo code angryblerd10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. That's debbie.gg with promo code angryblerd10. All right, y'all. So spooky season is here. Like literally Halloween is this coming Friday. I don't think I'm doing anything. I'm trying to ask around if anybody's going to Moonfest, but I don't want to pay to go downtown. Like seriously, like why? For those of you who don't live in West Palm, I'm pretty sure you might have a version of it. Moonfest is a big block party. They just basically they close off one of the streets downtown. Used to be free, but now they charge for it. It's like, yo, what if I want to go to eat like at one of the spots downtown? I got to pay like $20 just to get on the block. No, suck my dick. So spooky season is here, like I said before I went on my little rant about Moonfest. And 2 shows based around Halloween, scary, horror stuff have wrapped up filming. So we got confirmation that the A24 Friday the 13th prequel series Crystal Lake has officially wrapped filming. So I feel like they're going to release that sometime around like maybe September, October of next year. No official release date. This is just me off the top of my head on what would make sense for them to do. And also, Mike Flanagan's Carrie series has also wrapped filming. So no release date on that either. But Mike Flanagan did post his director's chair with the signatures of some of the cast and said that, hey, you know, we're done filming. So as someone who has never seen the original Carrie, I've seen 2013s, 2014s with Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore. I almost said Julianne Hough. Isn't Julianne Hough the chick from Dance with the Stars? That's not the fucking point, Bernard. Stay on focus. All right, so I haven't seen every single Jason movie. I've seen like, you know, bits and pieces. I was never really a big Friday the 13th fan. I was more of a Nightmare on Elm Street guy. So I'm really looking forward to Carrie more than anything because, like I said, I saw the remake of Carrie and I saw The Rage, which was the sequel to Carrie. Which I don't even think she was Carrie's daughter. I want to download that actually and run that back. But the Crystal Lake one will be coming to Peacock, like I said, and Carrie is going to Prime Video because that is a MGM property, which is now owned by Amazon. So once again, they decide what they put in theaters and what they don't. So like that, I almost said Chris Pratt movie, Mercy. I'm like, yeah, this should have went to streaming and it hit straight. Should have went to theaters. Anyway, I digress. So, Mortal Kombat, as I told you guys, has been pushed back to like summer of next year. Basically, it's a duel of the fighting movies between that and Street Fighter. Who's going to reign supreme as far as the fighting video game movies? Because we also have Super Mario coming out in April of next year. So, 3 video game movies, but that's neither here nor there. So, as far as Mortal Kombat goes, it has been moved up a week to May 8th. So it's just like you moved it from May 15th to May 8th now. And I still want to know like why they pushed it back, if it was polishing on the CG or whatever, because like I said, the teaser trailer that came out, Baraka, looked like ass. What else do I have? So I talked about this comic property vaguely last week. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago? Something like that. Yes, it was last week when I told you guys that DC and Boom were doing a crossover series with Swamp Thing and Something Is Killing the Children. So, Blumhouse has purchased the film rights or distribution rights to Something Is Killing the Children. Like I said, I never read this book, but everybody likes it. And the weird thing is, it's one of those things that I knew it was eventually going to be adapted because Netflix was trying to get the rights at one point. Lionsgate Lionsgate were trying to do it. Mike Flanagan wanted to do like a TV series. Baran Bo Odar and Jante Fries, who worked on the Netflix Norwegian time travel horror show Dark, wanted to do it. But I don't know. But Blumhouse will produce the live action feature, and it will also be co-produced by Stephen Christie and James Tynion IV, who is the comic book writer. I don't know who Adam Yolen and Matt Yorkshire are, but they will be executive producing, and Weather De Eldra, who is the artist on the comic, will also be a producer. So, like I said before, this book started in 2019. It follows a character by the name of Erica Slaughter, who hunts monsters that are killing children. And like I said, I keep meaning to start this book, but apparently there's several crossovers, and there's a lot of comics that I am behind on. So this is something that I would probably have to like get in trades as opposed to single issues, because I can't pick up another book. I would have to wait until like the Ultimate stuff is done with Marvel to add any more books to my pull list, because I just spent like $130 something 2 weeks ago at the comic book store. All right, but yeah, be on the lookout for something that's killing the children, as far as like a trailer and something like that goes. All right, so the day that, you know, gaming fans have wanted has slowly been approaching, bit by bit, where, you know, the console wars are pretty much done, except for, you know, Nintendo, because Nintendo don't want to play with anybody. So, like, you know, it was always Team Xbox versus Team PlayStation, and Nintendo be like, I'm right here, and we'd be like, yo, shut the fuck up, don't nobody give a fuck about you, okay? We've slowly been getting Xbox games on PlayStation. Like, we got Gears of War earlier this year. And next year we will be getting a remaster of Halo Combat Evolved. So the remaster will be called Halo Campaign Evolved. So there was a Halo World Championship on Friday. Halo Studios showed the remake trailer. I think they also had like the first 13 minutes of gameplay. And just like, you know, the original game, you will be playing as Master Chief after he and his USNC allies crash land on a planet teeming with the Alien Covenant and the Parasitic Flood. So, if you don't know, Halo Combat Evolved was one of the first games made with Unreal Engine. But this updated version will have 3 prequel missions centered around Master Chief and Sergeant Johnson before the events of the first game, and then will also include new characters, gameplay, and environments. But I'm not really. Oh yeah, Forza also got released on the PlayStation Store. So Matt Booty, who is the head of Xbox Game Studio, spoke on the agreement crossover with PlayStation. He said, our biggest competition isn't another console. We are competing more and more with everything from TikTok to movies, which is pretty much true. Like, my godkids, they aren't gamers. Like, my goddaughter begged me for my PS4 when I got my PS5. I gave it to her. I gave her a couple of games. She didn't really want anything in my catalog per se, except for Grand Theft Auto 4. So I got a Grand Theft Auto 4, bought her Minecraft, and she was playing The Sims on the on my PlayStation Plus account. But I don't think she touches that damn PlayStation anymore. I remember the last time I went up there, like, the controllers were dead, and it needed like 4 updates or something like that. So it's like, I might have to go get that PlayStation back, put it in the living room, and like use that for the VR, because I have more space in here for the VR as opposed to playing in my room. Because, you know, you need to move around when you're playing Beat Saber. Batman Arkham, not so much, but Iron Man, yeah, you need the space, because you need to be able to move when you're like flying and shit, and I don't have the room for it. But yeah, there really aren't that many Xbox games that I've ever wanted to play. Like Gears of War, I just bought that, and I really wish game companies would do demos again because the game is okay, but I'm not really a fan of the gameplay per se. I like being able to jump and like dodge and stuff like that with my characters. And honestly, Gears of War is pretty much like you have no like maneuverability whatsoever besides like cover, like taking cover. Like I thought it would play more like the Division 2, if anything, or even like a Call of Duty, something like that. And like the controls are just, they're not for me. So I'm gonna keep the game, but because if I trade in the GameStop, they're gonna give me like what, $5? Like I haven't traded in a game to GameStop since my PS3 games, which I regret doing since I have a new PS3. Well, they use PS3, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I think that's it for my stories. So we're gonna go ahead and cue up the spoiler alert, and I am going to revisit Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 4, Dear Billy. Directed by Sean Levy and written by Paul Ditcher. So, Joyce and Murray are in Alaska where Antonov's contact Yuri. But, Yuri's got some other things going on. Hopper escapes from a Russian prison after, killing several Russian soldiers. Meanwhile, in California, Jonathan, Will, and Mike are stuck being babysat by some FBI agents, or I don't know what type of agents, government agents, who are loyal to Owens. And back in Hawkins, Steve, Nancy, Robin, Max, Dustin are all trying to figure out a way to save Max, and Lucas shows up at the school, telling them that, Jason and the rest of the football team are trying to kill Eddie. So they come up with a plan to figure out how Victor Creel survived. So Nancy and Robin go undercover at the mental institution and talk to Victor about what happened to him back in the 50s. And he explains that, felt like his house was haunted. Like slowly, like dead animals started showing up, and then one night, the monster killed his wife. Tried to take him, but he had a flashback to being back in World War II. But somehow music was able to bring him back. But he killed his daughter and put his son in a coma. Max is writing letters to everybody. She gives Dustin his, Steve his, Lucas his. She leaves one for her mom. She has Steve drive her to the cemetery where she can read the letter to Billy. And Vecna comes for her. And obviously everything that happened. The most anxiety ridden episode of Stranger Things ever, where Max starts floating and Dustin's on the walkie trying to get in contact with Robin and Nancy, who are being basically held captive by the mental institution. But they escape and tell him that, the whole situation with Victor Creel, music helped him break out of the trance or whatever. So they turn on that Kate Bush. I posted it on my story a couple days ago. Well, yeah, by the time you guys hear this a couple days ago. I still get anxiety. He's seeing that part, with the flashback and, seeing Max since day one and everything. I just turned into Dave Chappelle, run, bitch! And, she obviously made it out. So I've watched that episode this was only my second time watching it, but I've watched that clip like I don't even know how many times I can count. One of the greatest moments in Stranger Things history. So yeah, I really don't have any notes, but also Yuri betrayed Anatov, drugged Murray and Joyce, because he took their $40,000 and doubled his money by snitching on Anatov, like a bitch. So Hopper is back in Russian captivity, and they are coming to get Joyce and Murray. So yeah, and I feel bad for those agents who were watching Will, Mike, and Jonathan, because they did. Like, and I forgot that even happened. Like, I remember they were running. I forgot that the agents got killed. Like, I thought it was a situation. I couldn't remember. I remember Argyle driving them, but I didn't remember, like, you know, they sent the army in there to raid the house. And why the black guy had to die first? Anyway. So yeah, the other guy, he was killing them, but he's obviously gonna die in the next episode. So let's go ahead and talk about the season finale of Gen V. It's called Trojan, directed by Steve Boyan, written by Justine Ferreira and Michelle Verzakis. Godolkin's on his killing spree, but we also get a flashback of him injecting himself with V1, which is why he hasn't aged, because it's the same version that Stormfront and Soulja Boy had. So right before he got set on fire, Marie basically drained herself healing Thomas Godolkin, but she can't. And she tries to heal Doug, you know, the guy who Godolkin was pretending to be Cypher all this time, but she can't heal him. So Polarity drives into a hospital, and he tells, man, this part really got me. Like, the conversation between Polarity and Doug, like, yo, although he was taking control of me, I can see everything. Boy, you would be proud of your son. He was the best of all of them. And then, you know, Black Noir shows up, kills him, and captures Polarity. Marie and Kate have a heart-to-heart. Marie ends up healing Kate when she gets the energy to start healing people. Thomas Godolkin is slowly culling the students by basically, you know, putting them through his bootleg danger room exercise. Like, yo, I'm gonna hit this button, you know, first one to stop me basically lives or whatever. And he's slowly controlling the students, multiple students at a time, to make himself stronger to the point where he can control Marie. Our group of kids show up, and they come up with a plan to incapacitate Godolkin. So I don't remember the name of the dude with the black asshole. Yes, pun intended, because he has a black hole in his ass. They show up and, you know, try to take out Godolkin, but Godolkin eventually gets control of Marie. Polarity comes in and help freeze Polarity. Freeze Marie after Sister Sage betrays Godolkin, because he's like, nope, I'm making my own plans now because I want to control Homelander. So he's like, this ain't the plan. So she helps Polarity get free. They kill Godolkin. Polarity tells them, hey, y'all need to run, okay? So Polarity basically became a scapegoat, and it's basically the end of Captain America Civil War. So they are fugitives. Jordan, Kate, Annabeth, Marie, Emma, Sam, Greg didn't go. So yeah, our main characters are all fugitives, and they are eventually found by Annie and A-Train, and they're like, yo, welcome to the Resistance. So yeah, very good finale. Eric Kripke was talking about, you know, he has plans for season 3, but you know, you guys need to watch the show now. Don't wait a year or so until like season 5 of The Boys comes out. That's not how this works, okay? Because he said now's the time that they're going to be paying attention to the numbers, so don't wait a year. Watch it now. So if we don't get a 3rd season of Gen V and these character stories aren't wrapped, because season 5 of The Boys is done. I already told you guys, Anthony Starr put out a letter saying thank you to the fans and everything. So we got to keep watching, okay? I don't know if they like count the numbers per device or watches, things like that, but watch Gen V now, okay? Don't wait until The Boys season 5 comes out. If you want to watch it again, then sure, but first watch it now. Anyway, guys, that's all I got to say for this episode, it's your boy Bernard. That was another episode of the Angry Blerd podcast. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Go to w.gg, use the promo code AngryBlerd10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. Next week, the only reviews will be episode 5 of Stranger Things and the first episode of It, Welcome to Derry. I'm actually getting ready to pop the first movie in now since I don't have anything to do. Or I might start it tomorrow. I might have to hit up Jared, see what he's doing so we can play The Division finally. But anyway, those 2 reviews will be coming next week. All right, peace.